Hello, welcome to the Pandas class. This is going to be a Pandas course, Pandas tutorial. Pandas is a Python library for working with dataset, and it's used for data analysis, data cleaning, exploring, and manipulating. I've had several courses on Python and everything that has to do with Python. So in case you want to know more about Python, I would refer you to my old courses. I'll put that in the link below. So for today, we would dabble straight into Pandas. What is Pandas? Is a library which is inbuilt with Python, and it's the major library for data analysis. So without wasting time, what is the first thing you do if you want to work with Pandas? Is to import Pandas, because when you're working with a library, you have to import it. I'm using an online um, learning material because I know if I decide to use some other ones, it might be a bit difficult for some students to have access to them. So this is a free source. It's called Google Colab. So if you want to know how to use it, you can check my other YouTube videos on how to access the Google Colab. So the first thing you do if you want to work with Pandas is you import Pandas. So once you import Pandas and run it, so Pandas is already imported. So if you want to work with another cell, you will click on code. So that would open another cell for you. So my internet is a bit slow, and that's the reason you can see it's taking a long time to load it. It took 2 seconds. So it's going to be show you how long it took before you ran it. So let's generate a very small data set as a case study. Let's generate a case study, a data set of cars with the number of doors they have. So I would name the data set my data set. So when you name the data set my data set, then you would open a curly bracket. So in the curly bracket, you want to have your cars. So you have cars, and what are the type of cars you want to mention? So my AI is already generating some type of cars for me, but I'm gonna decide to use my own specific car. So let me use cars like BMW, BMW. And if you want to generate some data set, you can go online to find data set about cars, but I just want to generate a very little, not very voluminous one for you. So Toyota, let me say Corolla, specific Corolla. And another one, let me use Ford. So these are 3 cars. So I can decide to use let me try to use passing. So 372. So don't worry about these things. They don't actually mean anything. I'm just trying to use it as a case study. So after you've actually opened your data set and you've done what you're supposed to do. So what is the next thing to do? The next thing to do is to view your data set using a pandas data frame. So I want to view my data set using a pandas data frame. So I will name it, my variable. Let me name it my car. My car equals to pandas dot data frame. So data frame, then I put the name of the data set in this space. So what does this mean? It means I want to give a name, my car, to my data set, which is my data set. And I want to put the data set in a format of data frame, pandas data frame. So once I do this and I run it, it does that quickly for me. Then I want to see if it actually worked properly for me. Then I would print my car. Sometimes the AI will give suggestions to you because Gemini is already been incorporated with Google Colab, but don't mind. Sometimes it could be wrong. It might give you wrong or suggestion, but if the suggestion is right, that makes it work faster. So you run it. So now I've got my data set. So this is my data set, the cars and the passings. So this is my data set. So I've been able to pull my data set in the way it was in before into what we call a pandas data frame. So that's the first thing. It's pretty easy. It's just the normal codes we've learned before. So after that has been done, then you can try to move on to a more advanced one, and that is called Panda series. What is Panda series? It's almost the same with what I just did for you. A Panda series is a Panda series is like a column of a table. So it's like a column of a table, or I can even say it's one dimensional. It is one dimensional. It is one dimensional array that holds data of any type. So it can hold data of any type. It can hold string. It can hold integers. It can hold anything. It doesn't really matter. It can hold data of any type. So let's quickly proceed with giving some examples. Since you already imported pandas here, there's no need to import pandas. And if I want to make my life easy, I can import pandas as PD. So instead of writing pandas every time, I would just write PD. You can see this is telling me there is a problem here. If I decide to run this again, is going to if I run this first, let me run this pandas as PD. So if I try to run this now, it might give me some sign that I've already imported pandas as PD. So if I say PD, it's going to work. So I don't need to type pandas every time. So if I run PD, it's going to work because I've said import pandas as PD. So I will leave it that way so I can just have PD instead of writing pandas. So what do I want to do now? I want to give some examples of what I'm talking about here. So how do we have our data set in form of Panda series? So the first thing is you're going to have a data set. Let's have a data set called C. Let's have C having height of people. Let's have 100, 120, 140, 156, 180, 187, 89. So this is the data, which is called, our name is C. So then I want to make my C to be in form of Panda series. So I would say my data, our name is my data, is equals to pandas. Instead of writing pandas, I say PD dot series. Then I put the name of that variable in a parenthesis, C. So what would this do? It's going to convert this data set into Panda series. So when I run it, it helps me convert my data into Panda series. You won't see anything because whenever you want to see anything, you have to use the inbuilt format called print. A print statement is already inbuilt in Python, which is different in other programming languages. So once you say print my data and you run it, then now you would have your data in the form of Pandas series. Pandas series is only one dimensional, like you can see. Now, sometimes people might ask you, why am I seeing these 0 and 1s? What do they stand for? So let me quickly shed light on that. This 0 to 5 in which you see is what we call indexing. Indexing is the numbers which Python automatically generate for data sets. If you don't give your data set numbers, Python would automatically generate numbers for it. And Python indexing starts from 0, and that's the reason why it's starting from 0 to 5. The one on the right side, it's your main data set, is the one in which you actually generated. This one's here is the ones you generated yourself. But this one is automatic numbering that actually comes when you are using Python if you don't give any labeling. So we will talk about how we can remove it and replace it with something else very soon, but this is just to let you know why you have the numbers there. All right, now let's talk about labels. So we want to create labels. So how do you create labels? I want to move all of these cells down. So now we want to create labels. How do you create labels? We create labels because if nothing else is specified, the values would just give index like 0 to 5, which you saw. But once I give a label, it's going to be easy for me to give labels to my data. All right, now we have a data already, which is C, isn't it? So let me print C to make sure that it's still intact. So I would print C. So my C is still intact. So then I want to replace the index numbers which we had. You know, my C is still the same thing, but if I print my data, it's going to be something else. Print my data. My data is a 1 in Pandas series, as you can see. So this is my data and this is C. So I want to work with my data. So but I'm going to use it in form of a C first. So I want to do it from the scratch to make it safe. So I would say, I would say let me use my data too. Or let me say my data set. So I use my data set is equals to pandas dot series. So pandas dot series. So I want you to give labels to the content I have in my C dataset. So what I want the index is, I want you to give them values of, you open a right angle bracket. So I want you to give them names like Ali. So you open an angle bracket. I want you to give Ali. You separate your values with, I wish I can stop this stuff. It's interrupting my work. And so Ali, I want to have Adam. Mind you, there are 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I put less than 6, it's gonna yell at me. So I need to be very careful and be specific. So I have Ali, I have Adam, I have Hanan, and I have And I have names are not coming. I have Esther. I have Sheol. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need one more. I have right. Right. All right. So these are the labels I want you to give to this data set for me. So that's the meaning. So if I run this and it doesn't yell, that means everything is correct. So how do I see if my data set is done properly? I would print, I'll print my data set. Once I print my data set, and it's going to have, can you see, voila. And um, all of the indexes which we had before, as you can see, is already replaced by the what? By the names. So the data sets still remain the same. So the labels is been replaced. Now you don't have indexing anymore. So this is how we use labels. The code is not difficult. It's pretty easy. It's just for you to understand how to do it. So as you can see, let me take you through again so that you can be able to manipulate you can be able to do it properly. You say my data set, pd.series. So let me give space so you can see properly. Pandas.series, the data set, the variable of the data set, then the index you want to have replacing the indexing of the Python. So this is how you do it. Mind you, you must have your data set before the index. If I try to put the index before the data set, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to yell at me. It's going to tell me, it says, the error says positional argument follows key argument. What is a key argument? The key argument is a seed, which is already known. But these ones are just positional. So the positional argument should be after the position. It should be after the one, after the main data. So you cannot pull the argument before the main data. So this is why it's yet in IU. So do not make that mistakes whenever you're trying to clean some data. If you do, you would have a lot of problems. So let's remove this. So run it again, everything is fine. Then you run this again, you have what you need. All right, if that is clear, we can move on to the next level. So the main thing is you just have to practice. If you want to be very good at using these things, you have to put a lot of practice in place. If you do a lot of practicing, it makes your life easy. But if you don't practice, you think you want to watch YouTube videos and that's all, you would struggle for many years before you can be able to get your hands on the content. So, but once you try your best to practice, it makes your life easier than you think. All right, now we can see more examples if you need to find more examples yourself. So let's now move on to Pandas data frame. Let's move on to Pandas data frame.